So my name is Albert, and I am the CEO and founder of AI Shepherds. And first of all, I want to thank Mal and H2O for giving me this opportunity, especially to Pascal, who contacted me. I want you to know that today I'm fulfilling a resolution for 2022 because I promised myself I would have my first live talk about AI, and here we are. So let's go. I'm going to talk about the current status of AI in the automotive industry. But before I start, so the thing is, AI Shepherd is there since 1 year ago, okay, and we have had a lot of talks with tier 1 suppliers of the automotive industry. So now we have a vision about what the status of the market is, and that's what I'm going to show you today with different charts and so on. But before I do that, I would like to ask you and break the ice a little bit. What do you think is the status quo of industry? Do you believe, compared to other industries, is advanced or not? Do you believe that maybe OEMs like BMW, Porsche, and so on, in comparison to the suppliers, are at the same stage? Which AI capability do you believe is more advanced in the industry? Any comment is welcome. Let's see what you believe about that.
I think it's more advanced than other industries.
Okay.
Because they follow lots of money. I think the legal framework is lacking.
Okay. Interesting. Any other comment?
I think there are lots of companies competing in there because, as you said, the OEMs want to take the part of that AI for them, and also the tier 1 suppliers or tier 2 suppliers, they also want to compete in the field. So they kind of competing against each other as compared to before, where you had strict structures of tier 1, tier 2, and OEM suppliers.
Interesting also, but I was surprised about tier 1 suppliers in this regard. That's what I'm going to show you later. Anybody else?
Although the companies are going ahead with autonomous driving, but there is trust issues from the customer side that whether it will be trustworthy or not. So maybe they are trying to tackle this problem.
Yes, but also one thing that I found is that most people, when you ask automotion and AI, they automatically speak about autonomous driving, but we will see that there are hundreds or even thousands of AI use cases out there. So, fortunately or unfortunately, people just focus on that, but that's just one of them, yeah, the most famous one. Okay, then, let's go. So, anybody? Didn't work, right? Because Mal contacted me first, and since Mal is a platform for freelancers, I kind of prepared some messages for the freelancers out there. Yeah? But of course, all this content is also relevant for AI and automotive enthusiasts. This is the agenda. I'm going to talk about 4 topics. First, about the AI automotive status quo. Then we'll see the subdomains within automotion industry, the top use cases within those subdomains, and finally, what are the winning AI capabilities. I need to give you some context to understand some of the graphs that I'm going to give you. First thing I'm going to talk about is the AI transformation. Obviously, all companies are going to go from knowing nothing about AI until at some point in the future becoming experts. And we have seen that some customers or some prospects find themselves in different stages of this transformation. So at the bottom, we'll have the transformation stages and then the value that they create with AI. We have defined that in AI Shepherds. First, we have the AI laggards, which are those companies that have no intention whatsoever, or at least it's not in their strategy plan, to do AI at the moment. And of course, losing market share. Then we have the AI explorers, who are already carrying some sort of AI initiative, like formations, proof of concepts, or even implementing some use cases. Then we have the AI competitors, who are already competing and scaling AI throughout the organization. And finally, we have the AI Shepherds. We are playing with our brand here. Those are those companies that are already developing AI state-of-the-art in the most ethical way. I will go to that later. That being said, we have spoken with 52 companies, all of them tier 1 automotive suppliers. So let's forget about OEM at the moment. Suppliers. They are German companies, and then they are metal, plastic, and electronic, both developers and manufacturers, and also service providers. So remember, we have now seen the AI transformation stages. The first one were the AI laggards, I would like to ask you which percentage of the 52 companies, tier 1 suppliers in the automotive industry, do you believe are AI laggards?
Like, is this a self-assessment or assessment?
Both, let's say. Let's choose. You choose. Any number? Half, 50%? Yeah? 5%? Okay. 30? It's 43%. Next level, AI explorers, those who are already having some sort of intention to do AI, or already doing proof of concepts and scaling maybe some use cases. A percentage? 25? Who gives more or less? 30? It's 39%. So that's the first big message. Regarding our experience on these 52 companies, of course the sample is not 500 companies, okay? But 82% of the companies haven't started, have no strategy to do so, or are starting to do so. The other two are competitors, 16%, and AI shepherds, 2%. Again, I will give you more context to understand. Well, let's go do it. This was the first dimension, the maturity level. Next dimension I'm going to give you is the size of the company, because of course it's important. So that's how we work in AI shepherds. We have the rabbits, companies with 200 to 1,000 employees. We have the deers, 1,000 to 10,000 employees. Elephants, 10 to 40,000. Whales, 40,000 or more employees. And that's the distribution. 43% deers and 25% elephants. These are part of the 52, basically because that's our target. And then we have 14% whales, 80% rabbits. Now we've seen two dimensions that I'm going to bring together: maturity level and size. Oh, this remote, yeah. I'm going to go through the slide with you, okay? Let's start with the AI laggards, those that have no plans to do AI. With the rabbits, we have 67%, which would be rational if we believe that small companies maybe have no budget to do so, even though they are more agile. And then this reduces to 38, which is also logical. There are less laggards, the bigger the company. But then this stays 33 and even grows with the whales. Now let's see the explorer, those that are kind of starting. 22%, this increases, which is logical, but then it also keeps the same until the very end. And the only one that kind of is rational are competitors, because you have less competitors the smaller the company, maybe more within deers, and maybe more within elephants, and then they just became shepherds, so that's quite logical. So the next takeaway is that no matter how big the company, or the size of the company doesn't have direct correlation with the maturity level in AI. So if I want to summarize this in one shot for those freelancers out there and also AI enthusiasts, today market is immature, tier 1, let's talk about tier 1, and therefore opportunities is scarce. But tomorrow market is immature and therefore opportunities abundant. And you can see my two emotions that I'm experiencing every single day. Next, AI automotive subdomains. So if you want to approach this market, again as a freelancer or however, it's interesting to have an idea of where and what the opportunities are. That's why, as complex as automotive industry is, it's good to know the subdomains that you have in there. This is the way we do it in AI shepherds. Other people might do that differently. That's how we did it strategically. So we have the traditional subdomains, or the core capabilities in the automotive industry, which are development, manufacturing, and again, strategically we decided to have smart quality here. Other people could have sales and consider quality within manufacturing, but that's the way we did it. And as you know, today the automotive industry is experiencing a disruption, so they really have to refigure out everything. But with every disruption, opportunities arise. So we have emerging subdomains. We have the driver user experience, everything that happens inside the car. We have the e-mobility, and we have the automotive 4.0. Maybe this is obvious for those who know about AI, but it's not always obvious for everybody. When people think about AI, they automatically think on how to improve products, services, and processes related to the industry, to the vertical. But people must not forget that AI has a huge impact also on the horizontals. And in last year, before Christmas, with a student, we invested about 3 months finding out use cases in the industry of automotive, and we found around 109 doing our benchmark, but then we also find 73 in the business units. That's a total of 182 unique AI use cases. And again, these are the most common that you can find out there, but I've spoken with customers, and whenever we have a talk, we identify things that are quite unique from the customer. So this number, in my opinion, is ridiculous in comparison to reality and what's coming in the future. Another message, we saw the traditional subdomains have a traditional mindset, and that could be a barrier towards opportunities. And the emerging subdomains have a digital mindset, so there are opportunities, but AI is last. What do I mean with that? AI is part of the concept of digitalization, and most companies are already busy doing other stuff within the digitalization and prefer to leave AI for the end, like gathering data and so on, which could be logical, but not necessarily is right. Good. Now, top AI use cases. We've seen 6 subdomains. I'm going to talk about one use case for each subdomain, which, based on my experience and what I've seen in the market, I believe has a lot of potential. So we'll start with vehicle engineering, and that's the use case. Similarity and anomaly detection on complex engineering data. I've been working at BMW for years in the engineering, so I know what it means to engineer a car, or I have an idea. And you have to imagine that all OEMs, when they want to launch a car in the market, of course, you cannot have fatalities. The car must work perfectly, and you rarely see fatalities because of a mistake in a car. So you need to validate this car, and that's a huge amount of money. You have to understand that once the car is almost ready to be launched in the market, you will have to have engineers driving the car around the cities, maybe for 3 days, and testing all the systems, because a car is a complex system of systems. Like that the gear works properly, the wheel is turning properly, the motor works as it should, the brakes are stopping the car, etc. So companies, OEMs normally have 200 of these testing cards, or more, I don't know, I invented this number, careful. But then, well, it's for sure you have to drive this car for 3 days, then you have engineers sitting down, looking at all this data, making decisions, making changes, and then you have to drive these cars again on the street, and after 3 days, engineers have to sit down again and repeat the process. And all of this, it's a lot of money, and I'm sure that with these use cases, or I know with these use cases, big savings are going to happen. Next is vehicle manufacturing, or manufacturing in general. In manufacturing, you want to, the use case is part quality check with computer vision, which is a known one. But in production, you want to avoid 2 things at all costs: defective parts and stoppage of the line. In the second case, one of the use cases is predictive maintenance to avoid the stoppage of the line. That's another hot topic, but let's forget that. With part quality check, you can avoid mistakes in the part and then defective parts and save money. Again, this has been there for years, but because of these advances in deep learning, this is one of the most wanted use cases. Smart quality complaint processing with NLP. I wrote that because it's also, I believe, a strong one, and we also are quite involved with this. All of those who have studied some kind of data science, data master or something, have processed it with NLP complaints from Amazon as an exercise. So this has been there for a while. But here I'm more talking about real-life B2C complaints that you could find in apps. For example, when someone is charging their car and they have a problem. So it's more in the direction of chatbots, but of course I'm talking about complex chatbots. And I believe not only in B2C complaints, but also in B2B complaints, NLP has a lot to say. With all these complaints between supplier and customers, I think that NLP have a lot of potential. Driver experience, so driver user profiling. This is already happening at low level, but you have to understand that we're going to go from a totally active driver to a totally passive driver. So we will go from having 100 functions that you can activate using buttons to maybe 0, probably, because you will activate them with voice. So suddenly there is a void there. You have hours and hours of a driver and a copilot that you need to fulfill. And yeah, you're going to do that with entertainment, but you're also going to need that the main functions of that car works properly for that driver. For example, the climate control. You need that the air adapts to the skin and temperature of the body and the weather outside from the driver. Same with the type of music that this driver likes. Same with the lightnings, ambient lighting within the car, and all of this is profiling each of these functions to the driver. So that's definitely like the model of the use case, or one father, doesn't matter, in this sense. E-mobility, electric vehicle battery management, grid to vehicle, vehicle to grid. I mean, some of you might know this if you're in this area, but basically we are going from the electricity going into one direction. I mean, in the past, generators generated electricity and they sent electricity to our houses, and they had to make sure, of course, that all the houses in the city had electricity. That's a must. So to make sure, they had to produce more electricity than necessary, and because storing electricity is so expensive, all this surplus in electricity was lost. But suddenly we start having electric vehicles with their own batteries around the city, so this surplus in electricity can be stored in there. Sorry. But not only that, now if we have peaks of electricity, we're going to be able to use this electricity from the batteries to send them to the houses or the areas where you need that. But imagine now the city of Munich in 10 years or 20 years where we have 150,000 electric vehicles in the street. You have to, in every second, intelligently send in and back electricity from 150,000 batteries and send it to the houses and so on. So that's extremely complex in terms of artificial intelligence. And the last one, mobility 4.0, autonomous driving. I won't speak about this one because our friends from Rightman.ai will do, so I'll leave it for them. Another message for the freelancers out there and startups or people in general, I think that to approach this industry or in any business at the end of the day, it's interesting to have two focuses. First, you should focus on an AI subdomain, just like we have seen, or at least into an industry. And second, to have more chances, you should focus on an AI capability. It's the first time that I mentioned the word capability, so that's the last section. The win is AI capabilities. These are the three that I've considered in here: machine learning, computer vision, and NLP. I'm not talking about computer audition or creation. So before I show anything, again, which of these three capabilities do you think is the most common and the winner within the automotive industry? Machine learning?
Yeah.
Computer vision? Again, it depends. If you see it in absolute or relative numbers. I see this as the amount of different use cases, not the amount of money invested, let's say it that way. In that case, the winner, well, that's it. Sorry, that's the new graph. Okay, we have the 3 dimensions. Oh, yeah. And we have the let me ask you something else. In terms of use cases, it's machine learning in the amount, in my opinion, in my expertise. So in the other two, which one do you believe is the second position? Computer vision, second position. In terms of amount of use cases, I believe it's NLP. So now I'm going to show you the 6 subdomains and the capability penetration of the 3 capabilities. Now, I'm showing here 3 heights, but this has no relative height. So this means heights are simply high, a lot, or very, medium, and low. Okay, that's what they mean. So in vehicle development, you have a lot of machine learning, and in my opinion, you have more NLP than computer vision. In vehicle manufacturing, exactly, you have more machine learning, and then you have more or less the same in the other 2. Here, smart quality, the winner in my opinion would be NLP. In driver experience, it's kind of the same. In e-mobility, you have machine learning, NLP, and computer vision, and at the end, computer vision and machine learning are the same. That's where I include, let's put it that way, autonomous driving. Now what I did is just changing these 2 dimensions. You have all machine learning here and the 7 subdomains, as we can see, is the absolute winner. Remember, absolute bars, absolute heights, not relative heights. And then it's kind of similar NLP and computer vision. But because there is no relativity here, if we had relative height to the amount of different use cases, I believe NLP wins computer vision. And I've seen these 182 use cases, but that's my experience. So machine learning is king, endless opportunities across all subdomains. Computer vision is strong but very few use cases, limited options. And NLP, hidden potential in many areas, but hard to explain and sell. So now if you like everything you saw and you have interest on that, that's what we do in AI Shepherds. Just one slide about us. This is me, Albert, 10-year experience. I'm a mechanical engineer, master in data science, and I have an MBA. And that's my co-founder, Arturo, which I think is a perfect complement. 15 years working experience, computer engineer, master in advanced IT. He has an MBA and 3 times PhD. He says it's his hobby, yeah. We guide the change, that's our slogan. And AI Shepherd is our name, and the reason is because AI, Andrew Ng said that electricity 100 years ago, AI is going to be like electricity 100 years ago, the level of revolution. And because of that, we want to make sure that AI is going to be used and brought on the right path. That's why we want to guide the change, and that's why we are AI Shepherd. So it's kind of our vision. Our mission is to help companies identify, understand, develop, implement the most ingenious and ethical AI solutions tailored to their needs. And finally, even though we are focusing on the automotive industry, I kind of see that, or I would like to that we cover more topics around the concept of a smart city in 10 to 15 years. Now, I forgot my personal cards, that was a mistake. This is my LinkedIn QR code. If you want to check that, I'll leave it here 10 seconds. Otherwise, you can come to me afterwards to speak, whatever you need. 8, 9, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, 50, sorry, 0. So that's it from my side. I'm going to show you the takeaways that we've seen. Automotive industry, tier 1 is immature. We've seen the emerging and disrupted and emerging subdomains, or that should be traditional. Top AI use cases and the winning AI capabilities. So I don't know if now it's time for questions or...
We're going to do questions at the end, if that's okay.
At the end we do the questions? Okay. So thank you very much.